recently bought a game from Steam titled Du.Ck Game by Adult Swim, and it's a nice game. It consists of ducks shooting each other in a fast-paced free-for-all. Anyways, I just got the game, thinking I could get some late-night duck game action, and I decided to make a lobby so other people playing duck game could join. Someone joined, and then another person. Player 2 and 3 were represented by a black and yellow duck, respectively. I then looked around to find a hat that I wanted my duck to wear. I found a dinosaur hat labeled Dinos. I chose it. The black duck chose a hat that was a television with a face named Retro, and the yellow duck chose a log as a hat, surprisingly labeled Logs. Because this was my first game, I decided to wait for one more player for a full game. After about 10 minutes of waiting, someone finally came. It was a brown duck. The name was spelled Du.Ck. They hadn't chose a hat, but when they came into the lobby, the head was corrupted. I was caught off guard, but I started the game anyways. The first 10 rounds consisted of player 4 dominating everyone else, but then player 3 started catching up. In the first match, player 3 just barely outscored player 4, with me and player 2 back in the single digits. Immediately after the second match started, yellow disconnected. The second match was basically just a fight against player 2 and 4. Player 2 then disconnected soon after the third match started. I found it odd that they just stopped playing after they won. Since I knew I wouldn't win against player 4, I opened the lobby to other players. The same people from before came, but this time, they were idle. Player 4 went into the lobbies and killed them so we could start. I started to win against 1 really good players and 2 players that weren't even playing the game. I somehow managed to beat player 4, but after the 5th round started, my computer started flipping out. It quit to the title screen on Du.Ck Game, but the music was somewhat distorted with different pitch changes at random intervals. Then, a disembodied duck head started growing bigger from the middle of the screen and quacking seemingly gibberish mixed with backwards language. Its eyes glowed a shade of red I've never seen in the game before, and as it got closer to the screen, it abruptly stopped the duck with a black screen. Green text started filling my computer's monitor, and it looked like it was forming a picture. The picture was a duck, but with its head right next to it, on the ground. At first glance, it looked harmless, but the more I looked at it I realized how morbid and disturbing this picture was. After 2 minutes of the picture, it went back to the title screen, but it was some song backwards. It sounded like the Du.Ck Game sound font, but I couldn't pinpoint which song it was. My best guess is Steel Mole's Unset. I thought the worst was over, but then the screen started showing all the sprites from Du.Ck Game with a bright colored background that kept on changing colors. It started playing multiple songs on top of each other, and I could not comprehend what was going on. Some of the audio was super loud, and some were the normal volume. I shut my computer down, and decided to get some rest considering it was about 2:40 a.m. I got back on my computer weeks later, and decided to see if Du.Ck Game was gonna actually work. As soon as I started Du.Ck Game, the white duck came into the stream in the middle of the screen, but something was off. The white duck's head looked like player 4's head. It was corrupted. I hadn't touched a button on my controller. But the duck was moving itself. It went into level editor and made a flat plane with a singular gun. The suicide pistol. Even though it hadn't made a spawn point yet, the duck was on the single-layered plane. It had gone up to the suicide pistol and quacked a few times. It sounded like it was reciting a speech. After about 10 minutes with pitch-changing quacking, it shot itself, but the duck didn't go ragdoll like I thought it would. There was blood spurting from the base of its neck, as its head rolled behind its body and eventually fell off the map. The body didn't ragdoll even after that, but slumped over realistically. There was blood filling the whole map. I was surprised, speechless, and I never played Du.Ck Game again. I uninstalled Du.Ck Game from my computer, but I didn't return it, for I was curious of what else would happen if I opened it sometime later.
skeletons and shivers down your spine. Shrieking skulls will shock your soul, seal your doom tonight. Spooky, scary